Welcome to IT 2040C Enterprise Security Module. This is a partial presentation of the security module. Within the entire presentation, we identify threats and attacks, we contrast internal and external threats, we categorize common attacks, and we explain disaster recovery and incident handling. All right, so enterprise security. We have talked in previous modules on threats and attacks, and we've even talked a little bit about disaster recovery and incident handling. However, once we scale it up to the enterprise level, we have to think about this on a larger scale, which includes significant cost. Companies have to balance this because they don't have all of the money in the world to devote to enterprise security. But when you're talking about an enterprise, the reason why it's so costly is usually because there's so many people that are affected. And anytime that you implement something like, let's give everyone a thumbprint scanner on their laptop, you have to think about not only the hardware piece that everyone has to get these for their laptops for authentication, but also the trading. Users have to understand how to use this, how to make a change, what happens if it doesn't work. You have to think about users getting used to using this, so it could cause some delay in their productivity. You also have to think about when users lose the laptop, right? There's a lot of considerations there. And when you're talking about thousands of employees, multiple locations, that cost really adds up. Also, within the IT department, there are people who need to be able to monitor things that are implemented. And so you're increasing the size of that department as well. But the risks are significant. So companies need to balance this. Oftentimes, what we saw in the past is it wasn't until there was a breach that the company then had to come back and allocate the funds to security. What we hope is that if we're able to identify risks and threats and then present that to management as security professionals, that we can get ahead of it before the breach and get the money into the security department and implement exactly what we need without overdoing it and without underdoing it. All right, let's talk about some risks. We've talked about this before, but it's not just the data loss and theft that we're concerned about at the enterprise level. We're concerned about time and reputation. Let's take a company like Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and let's think about their core business. It's not IT related. Their core business is healthcare. They're the top 5, always within the top 5 children's hospital in the nation. They employ the best surgeons, the best nurses, the best radiologists, have the best equipment, have critical research facilities, but they also collect all of our information. So when you take your child to Children's Hospital, they not only collect the name, the birth date, the social security number, but also your health insurance information, your scans, your blood type, your blood values, and your parents' health information, your grandparents, your siblings. There's a lot of information that they now collect in an electronic system. So their reputation would be severely affected if that information got out, even though their core business, the healthcare, didn't go down. They didn't lose their surgeons. They didn't start doing something that wasn't appropriate for the healthcare. But the reputation of securing that information that we freely give to them is critical to their business. Also, the time that it takes to secure the system is not nearly the amount of time that it takes to clean something up after it happens. So we have to take into consideration time to clean up any kind of malware on critical systems, thousands of systems, Also, to make sure that we're going through the information, identifying any risks that occurred, but also making sure that we have integrity in our data. When we're talking about threats at the enterprise level, we're not only talking about external, but also internal threats. So internal threats are people like Snowden, who stole information from a company and then gave it away. That's malicious internal threat. There's also people who mean no malintent, but they're not following processes. And so there's two kinds of threats, but we can look at both from monitoring. So if we're seeing people on our network internally, our employees, and we're noticing patterns of what we're doing, and then we see an anomaly, we can pay attention to that and we can figure out if that person has malicious intent or does not, and maybe just need some retraining. We also want to make sure that we have multiple people in control of processes and that there's some job rotation so that we're not at risk to losing information from somebody becoming just kind of careless through doing something over and over again, but also we get more eyes on the process. We need to think about accountability as well. We need to make sure that we know who is using the system through appropriate authentication, have policies and procedures around what to do and what to do after there is some kind of breach, and then make sure that we know who is responsible in case something happens. All right, that's my partial presentation. Thank you so much for listening.